My knowledge of this case came about because of a news article, and this case has so much involved, so buckle up. The news article that I first saw was titled, "Suspect Dies Before Murder Charge Can Be Filed." According to that article, which was in the Courier News, the prosecutor, Jeff Phillips, says that he was about to file capital murder charges against 72-year-old Martha McLean when Martha McLean died in hospice care after she allegedly took a lethal dose of several drugs. The quote from Jeff Phillips is, "There were a lot of moving parts because she was in the hospital needing to be released to someone, and hospice was involved, and we couldn't have her arrested and have any appropriate place for her in jail. I didn't know the seriousness of her physical condition. I knew bits and pieces, but I was hearing some contradictory things. So there were a lot of things in play here. I wanted to get the charges filed for the victim's family." So William Vick, the person in the picture, is the victim that Martha McLean allegedly murdered. William Vick was married to Martha's daughter, Lorinda Vick. According to a police affidavit, William Vick was found deceased in his home on January 17th, 2023. According to the affidavit for warrant, Lorinda Vick and a family friend went by the prosecuting attorney's office for Johnson County, which was located in Clarksville, and showed the prosecutor's office a note where Martha McLean had admitted guilt for murdering William Vick. But then Lorinda told the prosecutor's office that she had been trying to contact her mother, but had been unsuccessful. So that same day, later in that day, a welfare check was done on Martha McLean's home, and at that time, Martha McLean was found unresponsive in her home, struggling to breathe. They also found morphine and lorazepam in the home. They found a note in the home that was allegedly written by Martha McLean, where she detailed to family members how it was that she murdered William Vick. She said that she gave him a cocktail of morphine, lorazepam, and other drugs, and that after he had taken that cocktail, which she says she put inside his medication, that she gave him an injection of suxamethonium. I wasn't familiar with what the medication was, but a quick Google search tells me that it is an injection that is very short-acting, depolarizing, and a neuromuscular blocking agent. It's used as an anesthesia and a skeletal muscle relaxant that they use during surgery when intubating. You might wonder where Martha McLean might have got that medication. I know I did, but we'll get to that in a minute. According to the affidavit, in one of the notes written by Martha McLean, she said that she had been planning to murder William Vick for a while. She said that she originally planned to use a gun, but that her family took her gun away from her, so she did this instead. Martha McLean was taken to the hospital. Her health was failing, and she then left the hospital with her daughter, Lorinda Vick, also receiving hospice care. Martha died less than 24 hours later. So charges were not filed, but then it just got weirder because her daughter and the wife of the victim, William Vick, just couldn't stay off of social media. And in a post that was sent to me from a Johnson County group, Lorinda Vick post under anonymous, which came up as group member. "So I've kept quiet as long as possible. My husband was murdered by my mom, and then she attempted suicide and died several days later. As in true fashion, no one from the Courier, Johnson Callout, Arkansas Justice, has asked or talked to me. As with many people and death, family shows their true colors. My husband has not talked to his brother and his wife for almost 5 years. 5 years since my mother-in-law died. My husband doesn't even go by Willie anymore. He has been going by Will since Bev died. When my mother-in-law died, it was perfect timing on Teddy coming in and taking over about a month before she died. So he took over the house and finances. That was after other family members were the ones taking care of her through her sickness. I will say my husband wasn't entirely innocent, but again, it was property, death, family thing. Perfect timing. But looking at his post, you wouldn't know. You think my husband and Teddy were talking daily or at least weekly. I challenge him to show proof that he was talking to my husband. A picture, text, or anything. Something after 2019 can't be number using 1824. That is my husband's father's number. The father did talk at times, but remember one time that my husband was talking to him. One time, and he wasn't doing good, and my husband's father requested my husband to call my stepdaughter to call Teddy. My husband said Teddy was drama, and he was done with it. I was offered to sell my stuff 3 days after my husband died by Teddy and Michelle. Just wow. I was told after dropping off my boys. We went to talk to my mom. I was upset, shocked, crying, vomiting. She told me about the sucks. Of course, it's like putting my fingerprint on a gun. All the emotion one would have, I had. I left with my friend. I couldn't stand to be around my mom at the time and needed to process what had been said. I was dropped off at a hotel because I was so distraught. My friend went to an attorney's office. He told her to go to the prosecutor's office. There was no driving around. Sorry, we both had never been through this before. Calling 911 wasn't going to help my husband. My friend was at the prosecutor there making statements. I called to ask her to come get me. She finally did after making her statements. I was brought there for the same. We were in there forever, I felt like. I went to call my mom and she didn't answer multiple times. The investigator came in around that time and wanted a statement. I requested a welfare check since I wasn't able to get a hold of my mom, and we went to leave to check on my mom since they weren't really taking me serious, I think. The investigator promised to go out there and did. Go out there breaking the door in. She had wrote a suicide note and what she had done. I believe she thought I would never forgive her. I beat my mom to the hospital. I left my mom's house mad. Who wouldn't have? I should have done things differently. I love my mom even though this has happened still. Who can recall when the news was wrong? Luckily, the prosecutor investigator knows the timeline. Everybody keeps getting hung on the sucks. I can understand that, but if I wanted my mom to kill my husband, I would have let her shoot him. I took a gun away a month before. The courier did say that, but everybody chose to ignore it. Think that would have been much easier method, don't you think? I can't explain and probably will never really know how she got the sucks. She told me where she got it from, but how, I don't know. The hearsay and assumptions is crazy. I have not been impaired. Distraught, absolutely. I grieve for 2 people I love that died in a horrible, tragic way. It's bad enough that has happened, but then I have to suffer through all the judgment that my community has put me through. I did get pulled over. I was trying to go to work my first day back. I had not slept for several days. I really was not aware of how bad I was driving until the police told me. After the sobriety test, the police let someone come get me and take me back home. One policeman even prayed with me. I will say I'm not that religious, but it really helped me to know that someone cared. As for HR, they were aware along with my hospitals. It's a thing they do to check on you. They have to do. Did I leave after? Yes. Why? Because I, once again, was upset. I wasn't ready to talk to anyone, and I was at my job. They asked if I had enough time off. I requested to go home then. I was not impaired. They could do at any time a drug test. I even asked for one. Saying things don't make sense because it doesn't. There is no footage of me getting sucks. The investigator did not post requesting info on JRMC and DRMC for theft of drugs. That comes from Arkansas Justice. They would just get a search warrant or request to look at footage. I didn't kill my husband. There are many more ways if I wanted my house dead that it would have been easier. My mother was alert and oriented. She cooked Christmas Day, which was a week long, alongside of me. People can be on hospice for years and aren't bedbound. My mom did come home with me and died that night. People in hospice do that. My mom had an autopsy done as well as my husband. Unfortunately, it takes months to get the results. The day my husband was killed, there were no red flags, but once again, I wasn't feeling good, and both me and my husband hadn't slept since tonsillectomy. Nobody can hate themselves more than I do. As for people defending me, I told people to stay out of it. This may answer some of the questions, but I'm sure there is more, and the majority had their minds made up from the get-go. These texts come from my ex, kids, and others who have known my mom the longest. My mom wasn't perfect, and I'm truly sorry for what my mom did. I miss my husband every day. I don't even owe anyone this, but want to show at Teddy's true colors and how things can be manipulated. Teddy Vick and Michelle Vick. And this will all be twisted as well. It's a shame that the community can't just leave this to the investigators and let me grieve for my losses. So one small and really inconsequential thing that I noticed is that Lorinda said that William didn't go by Willie anymore, but in his obituary, it is listed as his nickname. And again, on a GoFundMe that was started after William's death by Lorinda herself. In honor of William to benefit a local shelter, he's also listed as Willie. Lorinda then posted what appeared to be the strangest bunch of character reference text and emails. They mostly speak to who the writers of the messages say that Martha was. So I'm going to include screenshots of each one of those. If you'd like to see them, you can pause and read them. She didn't really give a lot of indication as to who they were from, but maybe you could deduce that by reading them. In the comments of the post, someone asked Lorinda why she refused a lie detector test, and she says that she refused it because she has PAC, which is premature atrial contractions. In the comments of that post, Teddy also brings up that Lorinda also refused a voice stress test, to which she says, of course she refused it. She has been under a lot of stress. Now, personally, I don't put a lot of faith in either one of those tests, but I do think it's interesting to just add in addition to everything else. I did mention that it might have been difficult for Martha to obtain the suxamethonium, but Lorinda was a nurse, an RN, in not just one hospital, but two. The Johnson Regional Medical Center and the Dardanelle Regional Medical Center, which she said herself in her post. She also mentioned a tonsillectomy. William had a tonsillectomy shortly before his death. Lorinda herself decided to share a photo of the results of that tonsillectomy. This photo was sent by Willie the day before his death, so he had a lot of blood loss from that surgery, maybe a complication. But Lorinda, an RN, did not get him additional medical treatment. The comments in that post continued with some seemingly typical family drama, except for the Vicks, Michelle, and Teddy accused Lorinda of stealing over $70,000 from their mother before her death. That could be nothing at all, really, except for the fact that now William Vick has filed a civil suit against Lorinda Vick in Johnson County Court alleging fraud. In the court filing, Teddy Vick accuses Lorinda of forging his signature on a deed transfer on a piece of property in Johnson County. You can see Teddy's actual signature here on the court documents that he filed. This is a photo of the deed transfer. And, I'm not a handwriting expert, but Teddy's signature does look very different. And also, William and Lorinda's signatures look the same. Here's a direct comparison with Teddy's actual signature being on top and the forgery on the bottom. According to Teddy, the person that notarized the newer document, the one from Lorinda Vick, has admitted that Teddy was not present when that document was notarized, and that she did not witness him sign it. That really sums up all the information I have in this case. Of course, I don't know who is responsible for the murder of William Vick, but I do think there are a lot of suspicious circumstances going on here, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.